Okay, so practice test. Remember, it always looks similar to the final test, so hopefully you do okay. I'll walk you through not only the solutions, but also what to expect to get for marks based on what you've done, okay? So find the perimeter. What is perimeter? What does it mean? Yeah, you made the right motion there, yeah. Distance around something, yeah. So all you have to do is add them up. Now, so you add up 22 plus 6 plus 10, but there's some missing parts here. We need to figure them out. So this is 22 from here to here, and this is 14. So how far is this going to be? Yeah, so it's going to be whatever 22 minus 14 is. Looks like 8, right? That's going to be 8 feet there. Now over here, from there to there, that's the same thing as this 10 added to this 6. So 10 plus 6, 16 feet. So when we're adding it up, we're going to go 22 plus 6 plus 10 plus 14. So if you added up the ones you knew, you'd have 52. But then you need to add the missing sides, which would be the 8 and the 16. So you get 76? 76 feet. Okay? So generally with a question like that, I would give a mark for adding up the sides you know, and another mark for adding up the sides you don't know. So on this paper, they added up the ones they could see, but they forgot to figure out the missing sides. So I would give it 1 mark out of 2. If you got 76, you can give yourself 2 marks. Okay. I'll just put a little number there so we know how much it's worth. Okay, circumference is a fancy way of saying the perimeter of a circle. Okay. So for this one, there's a formula for that, which is pi times diameter, yes. Or if you had a radius, you'd double the radius, then multiply by pi. Okay, so the diameter is the distance across the center of the circle, which is the 50. And then you just punch it into your calculator. So I forgot where my pi button is. Do you see it there anywhere? Oh, there it is. I was looking at it above the pi. Times 50. It's approximately 157, I don't know, 0.10 or 0.1 or whatever you want to use. 0.1 or 157. If it doesn't specify how many decimal places, then just use whatever you want. Okay, 157.1, and that would be centimeters, right? Did you get close to that? What's that? 0.08, sure. Yeah, sure. You want to do 0.08? Oh, it said at the top. Thank you. Round to 2 decimal places. See, I would have lost a half mark on this test because I didn't read the first instructions. Normally with that kind of an error, if it specified 2 decimal places and you did 1, you'd lose a half a mark the first time you did it, but you wouldn't lose it again. So if you all the way through you forgot, you'd only lose it like the 1 time. Okay? You're not going to be dinged for making the same mistake over and over and over again. So 157.08, again, 1 mark for recognizing what the formula is, 1 mark for getting the answer. If you do 0.08, that means you rounded it to something else, you'd lose a half a mark. Okay? So on this paper, they didn't do it. They skipped it, which means they get 0. But it'd be out of 2. Okay? And the total is out of 4. So this paper is a 1 out of 4 so far, which is not awesome. But hopefully it'll improve. Okay, so let's flip the page. Robin, do you need a practice test here? We're just working through it. Okay, I'll just very quickly give you the answer from the first page here. This one should be 76 feet, and this one should be 157.08 centimeters. We are on this page. Okay. Okay, so number 3. Find the area. Area is always going to be 2 dimensions multiplied. So in this case, it's the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2, right? Your base is 15, your height is 19, and then you divide it by 2. So 15 times 9 is correct, divided by 2. Did you get 67.5? Okay. Technically, I wouldn't take any marks off for this. Because it said 2 decimal places, you would actually put 50 to make 2 decimal places. But you wouldn't lose any marks if you just put 0.5. Right, that would, but if it's specified 2 decimal places, you would normally have 2 numbers there. So you put 0.50. And that the units is feet squared. Or you could write square feet. Now, if you forgot to put the little 2 there or write square feet, you would lose a half a mark. But you wouldn't lose it again. You'd only lose it the one time. Okay? And I know a bunch of you are going to do it. Okay? Except what? All of you here aren't going to do it. Somebody's going to do the test that wasn't here today is going to do it. And they're going to lose that half mark. Okay, so make sure you put that feet squared. Same thing, 2 marks. So this one is worth 2 because I got it right. This one, the area of a circle, is pi r squared. So pi times 4.2, which is the radius, squared. They wrote down 55.42. Did you get the same thing? Yeah? Okay. And for those of you that haven't punched it in yet, it looks like pi times 4.2, and then you'd have to do the exponent key squared. Or some people have an x squared button. You can just press that, and it'll put the little 2 up there for you. Yeah, 55.42 is correct. There you go. That's worth 2. Okay, C. This one is 2 shapes. I guess there was no line there. This person just drew it in, right? But this person recognized that you could break it up into a rectangle and a triangle, which is the correct way to do it. So this area here is going to be length times width or whatever. So this area is going to be, we'll call that area 2. It's going to be 2.5 times 8, which is 20 square millimeters. And this part here, we'll call that area 1. It's going to be the base times height divided by 2, right? So that's going to be your 8 across. That's going to be your height of 2. And then divided by 2, which gives you 8. Okay, and then if you add the 2, so area 1 plus area 2 is going to be 8 plus 20, which is 28 square millimeters. Did some of you get that? 28? Yeah? Okay. So this one is it's pretty generous to make it a 4-mark question, but it would likely be a 3-mark question. with the extra mark being for recognizing those two shapes, basically. Okay. So this person did it right. That's great. Number 4, find the shaded area. So the way we do all of these is we find the area of the whole thing, which is the circle, and we subtract out the area of the white shape. Okay. So it's basically going to be the area of the whole circle, imagine it's shaded, minus the area of the rectangle. Okay. Okay, so the area of the circle is going to be pi r squared. It's going to be pi times the r. Now the r, you got to be careful here. This 28 here refers to the diameter. So the radius is going to be 14. Okay, that's the first thing you need to recognize. So it's going to be pi times 14 squared. Looks like this student did it correct. Did you get 615.75?
Yeah.
And that is square centimeters. Okay. And the area of the rectangle is going to be the 26 across times the 15, which is 390. Yeah. And if you subtract those, 615 minus 390, (225.75 square centimeters), and it looks like they got it right. So there we go, and that's another 3 marks there. Sometimes with a compound question like that, it's actually easier for a teacher to mark it backwards. Like start with 3, and then any mistake subtract away from 3, rather than looking for marks to give. And I usually just do whatever's to your benefit. Okay, whatever gives you a better mark. Because marks, to a teacher, marks don't mean much. They mean, to you as a student, they mean something, right? To me, I want to know that you learn the stuff. That's all I care about, really. I want to know that I want to know at this course that when you go into the 40S, and you've all signed up for 40S for September, right? Who's teaching it? Does it say? It should have initials on it. It's usually like 2 letters, like mine's TH. Does it say who it is? No? If they just wrote it on your sheet, it may not say, but on the master timetable, there's probably... Oh, there's a master timetable. So what are the 2 little letters beside? What are they? Oh, so Bisham. Yeah. Bisham's great. You'll love him. It's way better than me, so you're lucky. Okay. So I just hope that going into that course, you do really well there, right? And that means I didn't screw you up. Who's that? Oh, that's Elsie. Yeah, and she's awesome too. All better choices than me, so you can know if you're able to handle, if you're able to stick it out with me, you'll be way better off next year, way happier. Okay. Okay, so this is 10 total marks on this page, and this person got 10, so that's good. All right, let's flip it over. Find the surface area of the following shape. You can either look at it and figure it out by doing a bunch of rectangles, or you can use the formula for a rectangular prism. But basically, it's going to be, and it looks like they wrote it down correctly, you're going to have 2 of these, like the front and the back. You're going to have 2 of these sides, and you're going to have a top and bottom. So 2 of each of these rectangles, basically. So you got 2 of 3 by 17s. There it is there. You've got 2 of the 13 by 3s. There it is there. And you've got 2 of the 13 by 17s, which is there. So it looks like this student wrote it out correctly. And then we just need to check if it's if that's the right answer. Did you get 622? Yeah? Okay. So 622 inches squared, or square inches if you want to write that out. So this is correct. 2 marks. Okay, number 6. The giant sphere below has a diameter of 30 miles. So that's further across than Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg's about 30 kilometers, so probably. That's a really big sphere. Calculate its volume. Okay, so you'll have your formula sheet. So the volume of a sphere is it 4/3 pi r cubed? Is that right? So you'd get a mark just for figuring out what the correct formula is. Then you plug in what you know. If the diameter is 30, by now, whenever you see the word diameter, you should kind of, and you might use this as your notes on your test, like, usually when I see the word diameter, I need to find the radius, right? Because most of the formulas have radius in it. In fact, the only formula we have that has diameter is circumference, right? So radius is half of that, right? So it's 15 miles. So 4/3 pi times 15 cubed. This student punched in and got 1432.39. Did you get that?
No.
No? So let's try it out. So 4 divided by 3 times pi times 15 to the exponent 3. Oh, it looks like they got their decimal place in the wrong place. That's what happened. So you should get, so this is wrong, 14,137.17. Is that what you got? And that would be what kind of units? Miles to what exponent? It's a volume, so it's 3 cubic miles. So you either write miles with a little 3 on top in the exponent place, or cubic. You could write the word cubic if you want. Okay? So this one is only a 2-mark question, but this student, they got a mark for getting the correct formula, but they lost a mark for getting the wrong answer. And I might have given a half a mark because it looks like they just messed up where their decimal place is, but they didn't put the units. So I'm not inclined to give more than 1 mark. So for this student, I'd give them 1. Okay, number 7. Determine how much liquid the can below is able to hold. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the top is open or not. We're not doing a surface area question. You're filling it up. The volume is the same whether it has a top or not. So we're just doing the volume of a cylinder. And what's the formula for the volume of a cylinder? It's basically a circle, pi r squared, multiplied by height, right? You don't have to memorize them. They will be given to you on the test. Volume of a cylinder. So 1 mark for recognizing this is the correct formula to use. It didn't tell you find the volume of a cylinder. It said, how much does this can hold? So there's actually a bit more thinking that has to happen there. You have to realize that it's a cylinder, and you have to realize they're asking for the volume. So that's where the first mark is. Okay. Then we're just going to punch it in. The radius is 9, and the height is 16. So what happened here is the student got so used to cutting in half that they very quickly just cut it in half. It's already a radius, right? If it was all the way across, you'd cut it in half. So this is not the correct number. That should be a 9. Okay, so pi times 9 squared times 16, 4,071.50, and that would be cubic centimeters. Or, because it's liquid, milliliters, same thing. Is that what you got? Yeah. So it's 2 marks, and this student would have lost, again, they forgot to put the units here. So what I would do if I'm marking this, because they've already been docked a half a mark for forgetting units, I'm not going to dock them again. For me, the only mistake they made was cutting the radius in half when they shouldn't have. So I will give them a 1.5 out of 2, right? So 1.5, but it's out of 2. So this student got, oh, this one was worth 2, so it's out of 6. And they got 3, they got 4.5 out of 6. And you can figure out what you think you got. Okay, last page. Calculate the surface area of the hot tub liner pictured below. What's a hot tub liner?
The lining of a hot tub?
yeah, yeah. It's if you've been in a pool or a hot tub, you got like the plastic on the inside. That's called a liner, right? And it's basically just one big piece, usually acrylic, I think. It's just one piece with a bunch of holes in it, and they set it inside an enclosure that has insulation and pumps, motors, those kinds of things. But the liner is just the little thing on the inside. So calculate the surface area of the hot tub liner pictured below. It has a bottom, but it does not have a top. So that the fact that they sort of pointed that out, usually that tells me you're going to have to modify your formula somehow, right? Eliminate a piece of it. What kind of shape's on top? Just the top shape? Yeah, this whole thing's a cylinder, you're right, but it's just a circle on top, right? And I know the area of a circle is what? What's the formula for the area of a circle? Pi r squared. So I know I'm going to need to eliminate a pi r squared from my formula, that area of the circle, right? Just from the top though, not the bottom, because otherwise the water you pour it in it's no good, right? It just disappears. Okay. It does not have a top so that people can actually get in the hot tub. That's teacher humor there. So whatever teacher wrote that was just smiling to themselves by saying that. Okay. You're not meant to laugh at that. It's teacher humor. Teacher humor. Okay. If you're laughing at that, you should be a teacher. Okay. You find all the teacher jokes funny. Okay. So the formula, normally the surface area of a cylinder would be what? 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Okay? But if there's no top, then I'm going to subtract the pi r squared that represents the top of the cylinder. So my new formula is going to be not 2 pi r squared, but just pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So that's what I want to do. So you could either change the formula and do it, or you could just do the whole thing and then subtract a pi r squared at the end. Either way will work, okay? It'll work either way. So this student here, looks like they wrote out the correct formula. They did recognize that the radius is 3.5, because that's a diameter, right? So 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. this looks like it was done correctly. Now I'm just going to check the calculation. 2 times pi times 3.5 squared plus 2 times pi times 3.5 times 2.5 equals, yeah, 131.95. So this is correct. And then what they did is they found the pi r squared from the top, which is pi times 3.5 squared, which is 38.48, yes. And it looks like they subtracted it. 131.95 subtract 38.48, and they got 93.47. Did you get 93.47? Yeah. So you could have done, I actually like this method better. Makes more sense visually.
This one's
What's that?
it's not a short one.
It's not as short. There's an extra step, but at least you can understand what's going on here. Subtracting the top off. This is the quicker way, right? Just,
The quick way is to just cancel two.
yeah, the quick way is just to cancel out the 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you could have done it this way, calculate the whole thing and subtract the top, or you could have just changed the formula and punched it in. Okay? Either way, you needed to recognize the correct formula, you needed to recognize what happens to the top, and you need to not screw up the numbers. Okay? So it's a 4-mark question. That's pretty generous. We'll call it 3. I think it's a 3-mark question. 3. Especially since it's the last question, and by now you're probably not going to lose any half marks for forgetting units and stuff like that. So we'll call it a 3-mark question. So for this particular practice test, this student, the total would be out of 4, 14, 23. So yours will be out of 23. They got 18.5, which, as a percent, is just over 80%, which isn't too shabby. That's pretty good. Okay? And hopefully by looking at the few mistakes there, they can do better. If you got 80% on yours, you should feel pretty good about doing the test, because you should do a little bit better on your test because you've gone through it, right?